Hi, my name is Ellis Michaels, and I was diagnosed with Behcet's disease in 1997 at the age of 16. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about dating and Behcet's disease. Now, dating is hard for a lot of healthy people, especially in today's world. And for those of us with chronic illnesses, it's even harder. But it's not impossible. I'm living proof of that. And I know plenty of other people with chronic illnesses that have managed to form wonderful relationships with people. But of course, it's it's a real struggle. People with, like I said, dating's hard enough as it is. You add a chronic illness on top of that, it just adds layers and layers of difficulty and challenges to overcome, which I'm going to talk about in this video. Behcet's can be even worse than your average chronic illness, just because of how the nature of the illness, the unpredictability of it, the oral ulcers, the genital ulcers, stuff like that. It's embarrassing. It's tough. It's tough. But I mean, some generic chronic illness challenges include things like, telling when to tell your date, how to tell your date that you have a chronic illness, explaining the meds that you take, handful of meds every few hours or whatever it is, talking about how you can't always be as active as they might want you to be, and educating them about, the disabilities that you may have and stuff like that. I mean, that's just a few general things offhand. But Behcet's has all those and even more. But some Behcet's specific challenges might include explaining to people why you always order macaroni and cheese when you go out to eat. What the fuck, dude? You've been eating macaroni and cheese every single day. What's up with that? Well, it's because I have a mouthful of ulcers, and it's the only thing that doesn't make me want to fucking kill myself. Another one, the genital ulcers. If for those of you that have had them bad, that sitting a certain way can hurt, and you got to adjust yourself, and you might get caught adjusting your junk or your lady junk or whatever you got down there, and it's that's another thing. Explaining the genital ulcers, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. Because for obvious reasons, because people see a sore on your balls and they're like, oh, great, this guy's got herpes. Or a woman on sores on her vulva or whatever. Same thing. It's tough. Will Behcet's complicate your dating life? Yeah, probably. But does it mean you can't have one? Absolutely not. And like I said before, I'm living proof. Even after everything Behcet's has thrown at me, all the oral ulcers, the dental problems, all the blood clots, all the stretch marks on my ass, the scars all over my body. In spite of all of that shit, I've still managed to date some fucking awesome, gorgeous, intelligent, beautiful, wonderful, worldly, amazing women. And if I can, then so can you. Because everything, I shouldn't say everything, but almost everything Behcet's can throw at a person, it's thrown at me. All the major symptoms, the clots, the eye problems, the sores, I've had it all. Yet somehow I've managed to, and the fatigue too. That's another big one. Explaining to people that, sometimes you're going to spend the day in bed. Why? Because you have to. You don't have the fucking energy to get out of it. That's different from some Behcet's people are like super high functioning. They get all kinds of energy. Others, a lot of them, that's kind of an exception, but a lot are very tired, fatigued all the time. It can be a side effect of some meds. It can be from, the illness itself, all kinds of stuff. So, yeah. So, as an example, I'm nothing special. I'm just some random dude with some random illness, yet I've never had a problem dating. As long as I put myself out there. That's what it really comes down to, is you have to put yourself out there. You're not going to meet your soulmate. And I use that term kind of loosely, but you know what I mean. You're not going to find your soulmate in your bedroom. You're not going to find them. You have to go out and actually put yourself out there, and that's tough. It's tough, especially when you don't have any energy, especially when you're got all these embarrassing symptoms. But I've done it, and so can you. So enough about me and my dating life. You don't want to hear that shit. Let's focus on you. So I'm going to talk about some challenges that you may face with Behcet, some dating challenges, and how you can overcome them. One is you be afraid. This is a common fear, and this isn't just specific to Behcet's, but you might fear nobody's going to want you. You know, who the hell would want me? I've got this horrible illness. I'm in bed all the time. Blah blah blah. I can't do this. I can't do that. Maybe can't even work. I'm on disability. Who wants to be blah 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 blah? 7 billion. Think about that. There are 7 billion people on the planet. If you think you are so fucking special that not one of those 7 billion people would be interested in you, that's pretty fucking... I don't know what that is, but it's not true. There's somebody for everybody out there. I mean, there are a lot of people in this world. A lot. And there is somebody out there, there's probably tons of somebodies out there that would be great for you, that would love to be with you. So you got to get over that one. Stop thinking that nobody's going to like you, blah, 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 blah. Not everybody's going to like you. That's true with fucking everybody. Not everybody likes George Clooney. Not everybody likes Brad Pitt or Jennifer Aniston. Well, no, everybody likes Jennifer Aniston. I don't know anybody that doesn't like her, but you get my point. You know, with 7 billion people out there, yeah, you'll find that you've got somebody out there. So let that one go. Somebody will want you. Next up, give them the D. You got to give them the D. I mean, one way or another, you got to give them the D. You either give them the D on the first date or the second date, but at some point, you got to give them the D. And I'm talking about diagnosis. You gotta tell them, you know. And this one is tricky, you know. How do I? You might ask, how do I tell somebody that I have Behcet's disease? How do I explain this weird, rare illness? When I was younger, I had no idea how to explain to people that what Behcet's was. It's my body attacks itself for no reason. Well, why does it do that? I don't fucking know. You know, it's hard to explain, but you got to give them the D. You got to tell them at some point it's going to come up. Now, when should you bring it up? Should you bring it up on the first date? Should you bring it up in the first 5 minutes? Should you bring it up after dating for 6 months? There's no right answer. I've done all of the above. I usually personally, I base it's individual. It just comes out when it's ready to come out. On some dates, like I've gone on first dates where a woman mentions either having some kind of illness herself or somebody else, and that's the perfect opportunity to just oh, by the way, blah blah blah. You know, you just put it out there. That other times I've dated women. There's some women I've dated for months, and it never came up. It just didn't affect. I wasn't trying to hide it or anything like that, but it simply didn't come up. And I don't go out of my way to tell people that I have Behcet's disease, but if they need to know, if it's something like that, and if when I say I dated for, I mean about 2 months I dated somebody, a couple of people, a couple of different women that I've dated that the Behcet's just didn't come up. I didn't have any major symptoms during the time we were together, and it just it didn't come up. But then there are other times there's been first dates that I've gone on with a woman and that I'd never see again, but that I told. So it's tricky to figure out exactly when the right time to tell them is. The wrong time to tell them is probably like the first time you're having sex and they're like, "What is that huge open sore on your fucking balls?" You know, that's oh, well, I have this. That's probably a little bit late. You might want to bring it up before they start heading down there, but you got to give them the D. Now, next up, let's see. Once again, give them the D, and this time I don't mean diagnosis. As we were talking about sex, sex can cause all kinds of anxiety for healthy people, perfectly normal people, perfectly normal bodies, never been to a doctor in their life, everything's fine, still get super crazy anxious about sex. Oh, what's he going to think of, blah, 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 what's he going to think about how this looks, how this smells, how this, blah, 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 all this other stuff. Well, here's a little secret. Nobody gives a fuck. And here's the thing. People are so insecure and so worried about themselves, so just inwardly focused, solipsistic, just kind of me, that they don't have time to worry about you. They're not anxious. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking about them. It's funny. If you're in bed with someone and you're worried, oh, what are they going to think of this? They're not thinking of this. They're thinking of that. They're thinking of, oh, what's you going to think of that? Everybody has their own insecurities. But for us with Behcet's, those insecurities can just go through the fucking roof, because the mouth sores, the genital sores, it's like everything that it just affects everything that is involved in sex totally, and it's a pain. But again, remember, most people have their own sexual insecurities to worry about. They're not thinking about yours. So, if you've told them you have an illness, you have some scars, blah blah blah. Most people, or all people really, that in my experience, I've never had a woman be like, "Oh, you've got a chronic but not contagious illness." Bye. Never. Every woman I've told about Behcet's has been cool about it, and so will, in all likelihood, so will be the person that you're dating. And if not, they can go fuck themselves. They're not the right person for you. Move on to the next one. That's all you got to do. Next. So, but yeah. Don't focus on your own anxiety. Don't worry about yourself. And this doesn't just apply to Behcet's. This applies to anybody. Focus on them. Focus on their body. Focus on being in tune with their body, the sounds they're making, the movements they're making, all the little subtle stuff. Stay focused on them. Don't worry about you. Focus on them. And I guarantee you, it'll make the whole thing so much easier. So much easier. Another common thing that I hear a lot is that even if somebody likes you at first, they won't want to keep you around once they really see how bad, how the Behcet's is and everything like that. Yeah, that I'm not going to lie, that's a legitimate concern. Some people, if you're in remission when they meet you, everything's good. You're going out, you're doing stuff, and then all of a sudden, boom, you get hit with blood clots or something, or just whatever, and you're taken out of you're in bed, you can't do anything. That person might leave. It happens all the time. It sucks. It's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. When we fall for somebody, when we develop feelings, we start to like somebody for being a certain way, and then they change. Our feelings often change. It's that's just the way it is. But again, this is another opportunity to weed out someone who's not right for you. If you've been dating somebody for a while and everything is good for a while, but then, maybe your Behcet starts acting up, you can't go out as much or whatever, and they're like, see you later. Fuck them. Find somebody else. Find somebody who will stick around. Remember, 7 billion. That's how many people there are out there. 7 billion. That's a lot. That's a fucking lot. I can't count to 7 billion. Do it. Yeah, see? It's a lot. And one more concern. I mean, there's just so many things. I could talk about this all day long. And I'm going off some notes that I took down. But I should make a video where I just fucking go and just talk, because I've had Behcet's disease for 25 years and never been married, but I love dating. I've dated a lot of wonderful women over the years, so I have a lot of input, I guess you could say, on this topic. But one more thing to bring up is the fear that you'll never have a normal relationship. Oh, I have Behcet's, so I'll never have a normal relationship. Well, guess what? Nobody else has a fucking normal relationship either. There's no such thing. No relationship is normal. Every relationship is different. Every relationship I've ever been in has been different from the one before and the one after. That's just the way it goes, So forget about normal. Normalcy is overrated, really. It's just, the goal shouldn't be to have a normal relationship. The goal should be to have a happy, fulfilling relationship. That's what you should be looking for. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry about any of that shit. Just worry about you, and it'll be all good. But dating can be a lot of fun, but it can be a lot of stress, a big pain in the ass. But just because you have Behcet's doesn't mean you can't go out and get married. It doesn't mean you can't go out and date and have fun, have kids if you want. Do whatever. I've done it. You can do it. Just do it. Make like Nike and just do it. I would love to hear about your dating experiences. I'm always interested in people's, relationships in general, but especially with stuff like this. So if I'd love to hear either in the comments or you can shoot me an email or whatever. I'd love to hear about your dating experiences with Behcets, how people have reacted to you telling them or showing them scars or anything like that. And I'll make another video. I'll talk about some personal experiences that I've had that that are relevant to Behcets. But I think that's good for now. I've kind of this video. I feel like I've got a billion more things to say, but I'm going to wrap it up. Anyway, if you want to know my whole story, and I do talk about my dating life a little bit, I wrote a memoir. It's called Finding Happiness Through Pain and Embarrassment, My Life with Behcet's Disease. And I'll link it down below. And I'll also put a link to my website where I have a bunch of articles I wrote about Behcet's disease, informative stuff, and all that. And that's that. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Be well.